Chapter 16. The Ring. The same moment her nurse came into the room sobbing. When she saw her sitting there, she started back with a loud cry of amazement and joy. Then running to her, she caught her up in her arms and covered her with kisses. "Oh, my precious darling princess, where have you been? What has happened to you? Oh, we've all been crying our eyes out and searching the house from top to bottom for you." "Not quite the top," thought Irene to herself, and she might have added, "not quite the bottom." Perhaps if she had known all, but the one she would not, and the other she could not. "Oh, Lootie," she said, "I have had the most dreadful adventure." And she told her all about the cat with the long legs, and how she'd run up onto the mountain and come back down again. But she said nothing of her grandmother or her lamp. "And there we've been searching for you all over the house for more than an hour and a half," exclaimed the nurse. "But I must say, now that we've got you, oh, princess," she added, her mood changing, "what you really ought to have done was call for your own Lootie to come and help you, instead of running out of the house and up the mountain in the wild and, I must say, foolish fashion." "Well, Lootie," Irene replied, "perhaps if you had a big cat, all legs, running at you, you mightn't have known exactly what was the wisest thing to do in the moment." "I wouldn't have run up the mountain, anyhow," returned Lootie. "Not if you had time to think about it. But when those creatures came after you that night on the mountain, you were so frightened you lost your way home." That put a stop to Lootie's reproaches. She had been at the point of saying that the long-legged cat must have been a twisted twilight fantasy, but the memory of the horrible creatures that night, and of the talking to the king had given her in consequence, it prevented her from saying that she did not half believe it, having a strong suspicion that the cat was a goblin. For she knew nothing of the difference between the goblins and their creatures. She just counted them all as goblins. Without another word, she went and got some fresh tea and bread and butter for the princess. Before she returned, the whole household, headed by the housekeeper, had burst into the nursery to exult over their darling. The gentlemen at arms followed, and were ready enough to believe what she told them about the long-legged cat. Indeed, though wise enough to say nothing about it, they remembered with no little horror how just such a creature had been among those they surprised in their gambols on the princess's lawn. In their own hearts, they blamed themselves for not having kept better watch, and the captain gave orders from that night on. At night, the front door and all the windows on the ground floor should be locked immediately the sun set, and opened upon no pretence whatsoever. The men-at-arms redoubled their vigilance, and for some time there was no further cause for alarm. When the princess awoke the next morning, her nurse was bending over her. "How your ring does glow this morning, princess, just like a fiery rose," she said. "Does it, Lootie?" returned Irene. "Who gave me the ring? I know I've had it for a long time, but where did I get it? I don't remember." "I think it must have been your mother gave it to you, princess, but really, for as long as you have worn it, I don't remember I've ever heard," answered the nurse. "I will ask my king pappy next time he comes to see me,"